Welcome to episode 6 of Behaviour Besties. It is the last episode of the season.
That's
How are we feeling?
crazy. We made it.
Trying to support neurodivergent children without others feeling that it's unfair.
I think, again, thinking about why we introduce fidget tools, that in itself is a way to self-regulate.
It's also like connecting the body and brain together.
You've got pens and pencils on your tables. There's scrap paper there. I've also got post-it notes on my desk, and I said you are welcome to use those for this purpose.
It seems simple. I just put a connection box in place. It isn't. You really broke that down. Everyone looks emotional. Oh my goodness, guys. I cannot. Welcome to episode 6 of Behaviour Besties, aka the staff room you want to be a part of. Ladies, it is the last episode of the season. How are we feeling?
Crazy.
We made it.
We were always going to make it, Evie.
It's been a journey. We
No
loved it all.
I'm a little bit emotional, but I'm happy to be here. So, our game today is most likely to. So, we've all got whiteboards. We're all excited. I'm going to say a most likely to question, and we're going to write down out of our besties who is most likely to do it. Okay? Okay. So, micro instructions will be used, a TGMC strategy. Let's do it. Most likely to leave the photocopier broken. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, show. Okay, let the record show. We have 3 for Jen, 1 for Soph. Evie, why did you choose Soph?
I just feel like you get lost in the world. I feel like photocopiers are easy to get lost in too.
Yeah.
I get it though.
Yeah.
You need a Google map.
Yeah. Always.
For a copier, yeah.
Okay, the next one. Okay, most likely to arrive early to a staff meeting. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, show. Okay, we got Jen/Tam. Jen, Evie. Okay, I do have punctuality anxiety.
You do.
Same.
It's very evident.
It is very evident. But
Yeah.
Evie, I just feel like you're so professional. I just feel like you would always be early. And I
work,
also agree with
yes.
Tan.
Yeah,
To be fair,
well,
the only one who's going to be late is Soph.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, you need to get those maths working, girl.
Theme.
Common theme here.
Most likely to have a question and keep everyone waiting at a staff meeting. Or, so I just got mine. 5, 4, 3, 2, I don't know. 1.
what do we mean? Can we explain?
That's the question.
Okay, it's 3 for Tan and 1
Tan.
for
It's
Evie.
definitely Tan
Oh,
for
we
Evie.
love you,
Okay.
Tan. No, but we love you. It's important to
You
clarify.
ask the questions that people are
I do
genuinely
linger,
Yeah, exactly.
to be fair.
We're,
Okay.
we're going to all be saying we understand
You're
and
welcome.
after not know.
Yeah.
Okay. Most likely to be gossiping in the corridor.
Oh.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sauce, babe.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got Evie, Jen and Soph. And Soph is obviously Scorpio Soph.
Yeah, always.
She loves to gossip. You ain't catch me
Loves.
gossiping. I ain't got time for that. I've got to mark my books. I've got to keep this
Sauce
moving.
Evie.
Why did you put Evie?
Because, like, she always comes up with these really cool, sarcastic comments. What's she going to say next?
For a place of love.
Okay, last one. Most likely to take milk from the fridge in the staff room. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I can
Tan,
explain.
Evie.
I put myself.
Tan. Do you know what?
Vote for myself.
So if you need to have a coffee, then you need to. I think people would understand
Yeah.
that. You know, and I think that's okay as long as you never. Like, imagine if you're that person who doesn't ever buy milk, then that's
Oh
a
no,
problem.
I always buy milk. But and also it goes back to our team effort and being there for each other and a collaborative approach, you know?
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Oh, well done. That was most likely to. Thoroughly enjoyed that, ladies.
Well done,
Love it.
team.
Okay, let's have a look at our question for the week. And this is our last one for season 1. So this is from Lena. Trying to support neurodivergent children without others feeling that it's unfair. E.g., fidgets or allowing fidgeting while talking. I struggle with constant fiddling from some children. But if I allowed them to fiddle, they'd all want to, and some would just not be listening anymore. Sometimes it feels like any fun, they get too silly and escalated and stop listening altogether. So my first instinct was to do it for everyone. I think when we divide strategies into specific neurodivergent strategies and specific neurotypical strategies, I think we miss a mark. And what we aim to do at TGMC is to have neuro-affirming strategies, because what we know works for our neurodivergent children often, if not always, works for everyone, right? So it's about finding ways where we can have it for everyone. Now, obviously, that is easier said than done, and we're going to break that down in this episode. But I think starting with the mindset of neuro-affirming strategies and having these for everyone.
Thank you, Jen. That was like, I like that. I got a bit emotional. I do agree. I think being like dynamic in our approach in the way that we do things, taking ownership as a class teacher, like you're going to get suggestions, taking ownership to be able to say, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm using the same approach. It's still backed by the same research, but this is how it will work in my classroom and my cohort as well. In terms of the fidget tools, I think, again, thinking about why we introduce fidget tools and the different types that are available everywhere, it became a huge trend, didn't it?
It did. Poppets everywhere.
Exactly.
So many different types of poppets.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, but what other things are there? So, for example, when we just had the whiteboards and the pens, I looked in and I was like, actually, I'm like drawing, I'm playing with the lid, I'm like scribbling and rubbing it out. That in itself is a way to self-regulate or to try and refocus. And it's just about noticing that and sharing that with our students as well. So yeah, find alternative ways and alternative tools that you could be using as well.
And just a note on fidgets, because fidgets come up a lot. Yeah. And I do personally believe that we would all work better with fidgets. And Soph and I did a little experiment,
Yes,
didn't we, babes? Tell us what happened.
So in a couple of our training sessions, like we made sure, Tan went crazy. Oh gosh, it was crazy. It was crazy. We got a sensory tool for everyone, and everyone got to choose their sensory tool.
Amazing.
So some people like chose one, and then like after 10 minutes, they just got the ick and they were like, no. And they came back and chose something else. But everyone had a fidget tool. And throughout the session, we could see people like playing with it, stretching it, moving it, but still like contributing to their group discussions or coming up with really good ideas. And we were just like, this is a game changer.
It was like one of those moments for me when you're like, because I was nervous. I said, look, Soph, I want to do something crazy, which obviously she's used to me saying. She's like, Jen, just say it. Whereas Evie would be like, go on, girl. And I bought a lot of fidgets.
And I was like, I have a question.
Exactly that. So it wasn't just one per person, because we wanted that choice, didn't we? And we had the mantra before, or a little chit chat before, of like, look, we want to practice what we teach. Yeah. And we want you to move while you're listening to us. We're here all day. We want you to move. We want you to feel regulated. We want you to process. So they had that time to come up and choose. And honestly, like they found it hard to part with them, didn't they?
Oh yeah. Really? Loads of them kept going, can we keep this? And we were like,
no.
No.
But also, Soph and I had fidgets as well, and it is really supportive. But you were talking about how we can use other strategies, Tan, like how we're chunking instructions.
Yeah. So one key thing that came out for me from this question was without others feeling that it's unfair. Now, I'm assuming that the classrooms that we're talking about and our listeners are TGMC classrooms. So we are doing a lot of the visual approach to things. We are chunking our instructions. We are kind of doing our micro instructions, etc. So doing that, I think you're involving students anyway. So don't feel like you need to do something completely separate or another strategy. It is a part of it, and it's make it your own. It's going back to that as well. So
absolutely. And similar to what you said about movement as well, right? So rather than seeing fiddling as this separate concept, it's okay. Fiddling is communicating a need for movement, a need for comfort, a need for regulation. How can we assimilate that into our classroom pedagogy? And movement is one of the ways that we can do that, isn't it?
Yeah, movement equals focus. It's a huge thing, I think, thinking about our own behaviours in training settings, exactly like what you just mentioned. It supports our learners to be able to focus and, again, to be able to share that with our pupils as well.
It's also like connecting and the body and brain together.
Absolutely.
Completely, because they always say when the hands are busy, the mind is learning, and they always say that about children. And I think it's so important that we remember that as well.
And that's what we said in the training, didn't we? And I read the book Minding Bodies. I know I've told you guys about it because it changed my life. but it was literally like sitting is the new smoking. And I was like, okay, damn, page 1. And then it was also like, okay, the brain and the body is an ecosystem. It's not a brain on a stick and we're talking to a brain. The brain is functioning through movement. So the more movement we can harness in our classroom, the better thinking we're going to get. And I was like, yeah.
But also, what about the most recent kind of developments in TGMC around under-responsive and over-responsive? So identifying those behaviours in your class and saying, actually, are they overexcited seeking calm, or are they so calm that they're getting into that daydreaming, not listening mode that they need something to activate them? So focusing on that as well and supporting your learners in that way will help you organise the type of movement to embed in your classroom. Oh, got goosebumps again.
Yeah. And also it comes back to, like, we've all had that time when we've been like, I'm going to do a movement break. And you're like, whoa, what's going on there, Feral? What's happening? It's because, like, they're not in need of a movement break. And it's made them over-excited at that point. So it's responding to their needs. And that comes back to when we were looking at well-being and check-ins and identifying, okay, what do they need right now and what can we put in place? Movement doesn't have to be aerobics. It could just be choosing how you're sitting. And that is something that is a real nuance with movement. And I think where I myself have gone wrong with it, like they need to move doing some Zumba and then be like, okay, it didn't work. I can't bring them down.
Sweaty.
Yeah, exactly. So clammy. Another thing we talked about was teaching children to advocate for themselves and their needs. So one of the resources we have in TGMC is the I Need bookmark, and it's fully editable. So it might be things like I need quiet. It might be things like I need movement. I need a blanket, but you can edit it. And what I love about that is, again, I have this real problem with the idea that our education system muzzles our children. And I feel really triggered by the fact that a child might be sitting there not being able to communicate something that's wrong. So the I Need bookmark is another example where a child can say, this is what I need right now, and I'm advocating for myself, and I'm not doing it in a way that's going to stop the flow of the lesson, and that well-being can be met. So you talked about, Tan, how when we are doing neuroaffirming strategies, it's about having those routines with it, right?
Yeah, exactly that. It's just having routines and your expectations. And again, the person that asked the question, Lena, said that like they might get silly with it or escalated with it. Children have to experience those behaviors for us to be able to teach them how to regulate again. So the fact that they're engaging in those behaviors is actually a good thing because it gives you the opportunity to develop your CPD around this area and support to introduce these strategies and see how you can make it your own as well. I think the bit about routines and how we do things in our classroom is for you as a teacher as well, and what works for you as well, and just coming in and checking in again and seeing what works over time.
And I think I love that. Thank you. And I think one of those routines is something like the connection box, because I am very guilty of being like, I love this strategy. I'm doing this strategy. The strategy's not working. Oh my goodness. But I think what's really key when we're doing neuroaffirming strategies or any strategies is to have some boundaries in place for it, have some parameters and explicitly teach it. So you did that, didn't you, Evie? Because you started with a worry box, right?
Yes. Yeah, I started with the worry box. And then, like we spoke about in the wellbeing episode, actually, yes, it was helpful, but it was kind of narrowing my children into thinking they could only share their worries with me. And obviously, I want them to share whether they're comfortable or uncomfortable, whether it's something exciting, whether it's just some happy news they want to share, whatever it is, or whether it's something they need. So I repurposed the worry box, worry monster, and I said to them, look, this isn't a worry monster anymore. This is our messages for Miss Mobley down. And that's what I've got on the wall next to it, so that it's really explicitly, it's then in our calm space, they know where it is. And we kind of set it up together, because at the end of the day, I'm not the one putting the messages in there, the children are. So we talked together about when did they think the best time to do it was, when did they find it best to do that? And together we kind of came up with transition times, going out for break time, going out for lunchtime. Conveniently, our scrap paper drawer is very nearby. So it was kind of like, you've got pens and pencils on your tables, there's scrap paper there. I've also got post-it notes on my desk, and I said, you are welcome to use those for this purpose. So they always had the resources they'd need. So if they needed to give me a message, there wouldn't be the barrier of, oh gosh, I don't know where the paper is. It wouldn't turn into a whole a thing where lots of children were saying, here's your paper, when that child might want to keep it really private. And also then I made it really explicit that then other children would need to be respectful. If they saw somebody in that area, then actually let them just have a bit of time on their own. It might be something really positive and a lovely, happy story that they want to share, and they want to share with their friends outside, but other children wouldn't know that at the time. So it was just sharing, actually give them space. And if they'd like to share with you what they've got to say, then they will, but let them come to you. And then just made it really clear to the children that those would be checked at the end of the day, and they could put on there if they wanted me to check back in with them, or if it was just something that they wanted me to know. They didn't need me. They didn't want me to come and talk to them. They just wanted me to know. And so it was always there.
I love that.
Yeah.
Can I just add, I think that's a wonderful example of alternative ways to communicate with our teacher. So that is an approach that is available for all of our learners, yet some of our learners can't access that approach, but they find alternative ways to communicate that with you. So for learners like Lena's question, where they feel like they're left out or they're not getting the connection from the teacher, actually, well, the connection box is still there. There are alternative ways of doing this. So they've asked it in this way. You've still got the opportunity there. Everyone's got this approach in our classroom, and it links really nicely to our strategies for the neuroaffirming class as well.
And I love that, because when I first said to Evie, like, oh, can you talk about the connection box? She was like, but what? And I don't think you realise how, even though that it seems simple, I just put a connection box in place. It isn't. You really broke that down, and you made that successful in your class by saying how they can do it, what equipment they can use, when they can do it, how you will follow up with them. And all of those nuances and that explicit teaching within it made that a successful neuroaffirming approach in your classroom, where children feel like they can communicate with you all the time. And it's those little kind of I's to dot, is that the one? And T's to cross that make the difference when you're applying a new strategy. And I know, Sophie, you've just done this, haven't you, with flexible seating?
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing people go, flexible seating. I mean, I was like that. I was like, oh, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
And it's scary. So how did you do that?
It's interesting, because I know a lot of the time people go flexible seating in early years. My goodness me, everyone's going to be sitting on chairs. They're going to be all over the place. But actually, like Tan said, like giving them the time to play around with those different types of seating, and saying to them, I said to them, look, these are all the different ways that you can sit during our carpet sessions together. Sometimes we call it our little hangouts. During our hangouts, have a look. You can sit like this. If cross-legged works for you, it works for you. But if it doesn't, there's knees. But what do we need to be mindful of? People behind us, and really,
That's brilliant.
Really having those conversations and opening it up. And I've seen a couple of children like trying it out like this, and really exploring them, but giving them that time to explore.
It's
definitely
that exploring aspect is so important.
Yeah, and then there's so much more understanding of those neurodivergent children that might need to sit on a chair or sit on a special cushion, because you've opened up, this is flexible seating that we have in this classroom. So then they don't think it's a novelty to sit on a chair, or, they don't start, oh, I want to sit on a chair. They know that everyone sits differently, and that's okay.
And it's the reason behind it as well, right? This is why we're doing flexible seating. This is why we have fidgets. So then you don't have the, why have they got that? Because we are in this culture in our classroom.
Yeah.
But you're right, Tan.
I could just imagine them like 20 years later being able to have a toolbox of strategies as adults to use day to day. And I think it's so important.
But also just creating empathetic and understanding children, because even since I've opened that, you see the children supporting others and like, oh, I'm going to call her Susan. Susan, you need this cushion. Here you go. It's time for our hangout, or it's time for carpet time. And they get that for them. You know, you can see that they really appreciate that everyone is different and everyone needs something.
I think it's so important as well, like you said, Soph, about it, letting them try these things and knowing it's not a novelty. And sometimes as a teacher, it's really, you think, oh gosh, they're just all going to want to do that thing. But actually, let them try it. They might all sit on a chair, and that's okay. But in the end, they will find what works for them. They're not going to put themselves in a position that they find uncomfortable. They'll find what works for them. And you do have to take a leap of faith and trust your children. But ultimately, they'll see that you're trusting them and you'll get it back. And it's just taking that leap.
Yeah.
I just think for teachers to know as well, like when I was in my second year of teaching, I went on a training. It was actually talk less training. You know how much I love that. I talk about it all the time. Isabella Wallace, what up? And she said, look, if you're trying something new, don't expect it to work the first time.
100.
That's cool. It's not going to work the first time because it's new for you. It's new for them. But what you get from that is amazing data. And you know the next time it's going to be better, boo. And the time after that. And that is how you embed those routines by saying, okay, what didn't work? What did work? Let's decide together what our parameters are for this. And that's our agreement, and we're invested together. All right. I think we're going to end with your amazing point, Tan, which is about learning not being linear.
Yeah, exactly. I was like so consumed by what everyone was saying. Okay, so just to see, like, when children want connection at certain times of the year, it's not going to be, I need the most connection after this routine or after this transition or after this change. It's going to be a huge scribbly line to be because of different environmental factors. That's where that came from. So I understand that we have systems and processes and routines to get through in the day, but in terms of what pupils are going through, their own communication needs, their sensory needs, etc., there's going to be a spike, a little dip over time. So yeah.
And Hans, isn't that the same for us?
Yeah.
Trust the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And within those dips, that's growth and that's learning.
Yeah.
So we're going to finish with our last mantra of the season, which is no one is getting it right all of the time, period.
And that's such a good one for our teachers to know, because I feel like in our sort of vocation, we always feel like we need to have it nailed down and, you know, it's set in stone. And I think allowing you to have that mentality that it's not about that. It's about trial and error and working things through it and going through that process.
It's messy.
Yeah, it is.
And we're all in that process together, and no one's alone in that. And I think that's really important. Shout out to all the babes. Everyone looks emotional. Oh my goodness, guys. I cannot. Shout out to all of the babes who listened to season 1. If you want more behaviour support, you can find us at
TGMC.
Okay, we're working on that. We'll be better for season 2. www.goodmorningwithsponsor.com/TGMC. Bye, babes. Bye. That was good. That was